gentlemen, and welcome to the chat show and be my guest. My name's Don Cole, and I'll be hosting this program for you. Well, we have three guests for you tonight. First one being a man very much in the news. Well, he's done a lot for charity and has been heavily involved in famine relief. I must also say he's not too fond of the old big razor blade. He is none other than Sir Bob Geldof himself. Can we have Mr. Geldof?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. Thank you.
Now, Bob, how many charity aids have you done altogether, roughly?
Well, I think about too many. I've completely exhausted myself. I haven't even had time to shite. I'm not really sure how many's been done. Really, I couldn't tell you.
Well, could you tell us how much cash you've raised?
I know I've raised cash, pardon me, but that's about all I've raised. I've done very little else. That's why my wife's done more runners than Steve Ovett.
I'm sure it must be billions.
What men's you run off? You're probably right.
How do you feel, Bob, about what you've done for famine relief? I'm sure you must be very pleased.
Sure, I'm pleased. Sure, I've what I've done, but I've left myself fucking skint for a start. I mean, those niggers out there even took my last pair of underpants, and whoever's got them will be in for one hell of a shock, so they will.
You haven't, Mr. Geldof, have you?
Yes, Mr. Cole, I have. I've left my autograph in the undercarriage in brown ink.
Now, Bob, to change things a bit, do you and your wife, Paula, get much time alone?
No, sure, I'm only her bit aside. I mean, I'm after a portable mattress to strap to her back, because she likes to get around in comfort. There's even pop friends of mine who have nicknamed her Quality Street because she's made for Sharon.
Now, do you ever get fed up with all this running about and maybe stick to the pop music? Do you not want to stick to that side of it?
Sometimes I get fed up. Last year I was there. There was loads of wogs, 2.5 stones heavier than me. They were even better clothed than me. Then overall condition, they were better looked after than me. I was that bad looking that one of them asked me did I want the length of their belt to hold up my own trousers. I mean, I felt if that had been black, you'd have come over and you'd have given me a fucking handful of rice. I was really, really terrible looking after all the running about.
Now, getting away from the famine situation, how do you relax?
Well, sometimes I play detective to see who Paula's fingered, and I mean that literally. And that helps to get my day in.
You don't seem to have a very high opinion on your wife.
Well, you tell me who has, Mr. Cole. I mean, my wife runs about with fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry. I mean, and you expect me to say that she's like Queen Victoria? Well, she's far from it. She's a real dirty beast.
Well, I'm sure she takes it after you, Mr. Geldof, but nevertheless, we hope that you stay with us here because we're going to bring on our second guest, Mr. Geldof. But firstly, ladies and gentlemen, let's show our appreciation there for Mr. Geldof for joining us tonight. Now, to our second guest, he's a man who's been in politics since hope was bred, I would say. He's also a reverend, and a big one at that. He is none other than the Reverend N. Paisley MP. Welcome, Mr. Paisley, to the chat show and be my guest.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, firstly, I've always wanted the opportunity to have an interview with you.
Jesus, fuck, I feel as though I'm in Castlereagh holding centre already. Don't be saying that, mister. Don't say that word interview, Mr. Cole.
Well, all right, if it makes you feel any better, I'll not say it. Now, I take it you know Mr. Geldof here.
Yes, I have. I do know him. I've had acquaintances with him. Mind you, he hasn't changed much. He's still a scruffy bastard.
Well, that leaves a lot to be desired. He's got a new suit on there.
He must have went to Elliott's to hire it out.
Well, I don't know where he's went to get it.
Just hold on a minute, Mr. Cole. I get a wee drink.
I noticed you took that out of your pocket there. What is that?
That's Teacher's. Teacher's whiskey. Scotch. Nothing but the best.
Well, no, I hope you're not planning to get drunk tonight, Mr. Paisley.
I'm not planning to get drunk at all.
Now, Mr. Paisley, do you enjoy being a leading figure in Northern Ireland?
Well, Mr. Cole, as you know, I'm a leading figure in more places than Northern Ireland. But to answer your question, yes, I do enjoy it. It's a very demanding role which is upon me, but then again, it's one that I must fulfill for the sake of the Protestants in Northern Ireland.
Yes, I see. You're very much in the thick of this Anglo-Irish agreement at the moment. What are you aiming to do with it or about it?
Well, I thought we'd get into this. I thought you would mention that. Well, I want it scrapped through paperwork or tax if it's necessary. If it's not to be scrapped, as I have stated, then we'll have to resort to violence.
What if Maryfield was closed down, Mr. Paisley? Would you feel a wee bit better off for that?
No, it wouldn't, Mr. Cole. I wouldn't feel any better. I don't want Maryfield closed down, Mr. Cole. I and the Protestants in Ulster want Maryfield fucking burned down. That's what we want.
Oh, well, surely that's an incitement to violence, Mr. Paisley, is it not? I mean, you're meant to be leading a demonstration to your people to show that you not only achieve things by violence.
Well, Mr. Cole, Margaret Thatcher and her bit on the side have signed the incitement to violence which has erupted in our province by putting pen to paper in Dublin with Peterborough.
What do you think you'd have done if you hadn't become a politician?
Well, knowing the things that I know now, I think I would like to have been an executioner in the south of Ireland, or maybe a fly on the walls of 10 Downing Street. And you know what they say about flies? They shout and vomit every time they land, so I wouldn't be off Maggie Thatcher's face.
Yes, I see. I'm sure Margaret Thatcher wouldn't take too kindly to that, Mr. Payne.
I don't give a fuck what Margaret Thatcher thinks.
Now, what's your thoughts on Mr. Keane and Mrs. Thatcher, or need I ask you?
Well, you needn't ask me, but I detest both of them. They cause nothing but trouble in this country. They make decisions for others and don't conform to what other people want. And to me, they're like Mara Henley and Mr. fucking Ian Brady.
Now, Mr. Paisley, I don't want to kick up a dust here, but do you have any involvement in this Kincora sex scandal?
No, I have not, and I was not involved in it, and you damn well know it. Anyway, I was told if you're caught in the grounds of Kincora House, you're liable to a welt in the mouth. And there's a man at Ido who's had more welts in his mouth than Frank Brito, but I'm not going to mention his name.
Well, we'll not bother about that. We'll leave that for now.
Sorry about that.
Now, what about the attitudes of people in Northern Ireland today? Are they more friendly?
Well, they still play pig with hatchets, but that doesn't make them unfriendly. That's their way of making friends.
Well, don't think I would fancy making friends with anybody in Northern Ireland, Mr. Paisley, although I wouldn't like to fall out with any.
Yes, as well you said that, Mr. Cole.
Now, well, I hear that you are making a new single, Mr. Paisley.
Yes, well, I would like to give it a little plug later on.
Now, it's about Margaret Thatcher and Tom King.
Yes, it is.
Now, what about the defeat of the IRA out of Ulster?
Well, Margaret Thatcher certainly intends to keep the Provos in our land, simply because of the money she pours into the housing executive. That, in order, gives new homes to the Short Strand and the New Lodge Road. Why doesn't she build them houses in the Republic of Ireland where they belong? That's where they do belong. Or better still, why does she build them houses at all? I mean, if they fight dirty, let them live dirty. Or fight houses.
We'll see. Now, well, I don't think that would be a bit unfair, because Margaret Thatcher would come under a lot of criticism.
Sure, she comes under criticism for the IRA. Anyway, Mr. Cole just got fuck all the loss. Maybe her virginity if she comes over here to me.
Now, we'll get off that quickly there. Now, I can remember when you and Mr. Hume were good friends, Mr. Paisley. Do you ever get together?
Well, that's true to a certain extent, I must admit. Mr. Hume used to buy the drinks in 1969. But you couldn't get a fucking drink out of him now. He's a tight-fisted bastard. It's that mingy. He collects his own urine and recycles it. He could peel an orange in his fucking pocket. No, Mr. Hume's an enemy of Ulster, and will remain so until he sees the light.
Who do you consider a real friend in the world of politics?
Well, it must surely be Peter Robinson, simply because if and when I pass away, he'll be taken over the hot seat. And I must warn the opposition that he won't be beating anyone with a tickling stick. It'll be more like a stick of dynamite. He'll be the new Gaddafi of Ulster.
And again, that's another incitement to violence. But surely Mr. Robinson is a very heavily outspoken man. I mean, he went to Clintrippet there in an illegal march or whatever, your demonstration, and he was fined 15,000. Now, he paid that fine. But when he was up in the north, he never paid a fine. That's just recently in the media. He never paid a £25 for his car tax.
Well, Mr. Robinson can do whatever he wants, Mr. Cole. He's a free agent. I mean, you've got nothing to do with him, and I haven't got anything to do with him. He's a very good friend of mine, and what he does with his money is his own business.
Right. Now, Bob Geldof, how do you react whenever you hear of violence on the streets of Ulster?
Well, I make for under the fucking table. No, I'm only joking. I hate to see trouble in the streets of Northern Ireland. I mean, I'm I've got a lot of friends out there.
I would say you've made acquaintances with the likes of Hee-Haw Hawk and Garth Fitzceltic. And they're not what I would call friends, Mr. Geldof.
No, I haven't as yet, but I'm sure I could make the effort.
I'll smack a fucking face.
Now, Mr. Paisley, please wise up.
I'll break his fucking back. How dare him go behind the backs of people of Ulster and talk to that dirt?
Mr. Paisley, you no need to give me a dig in the mouth.
I'll stick my boot right in your ribcage, you bastard. You.
Now, gentlemen, please, Mr. Paisley, control yourself. You're not meant to do this. There's a chat show. It's meant to be a friendly atmosphere in here, not one of the South v. the North.
Bastard he is. But then again, I forgot that Mr. fucking Geldof is too busy feeding the niggers and putting knickers on their horses. It's time you done something for this country and let the niggers sort out their own country and their own problems.
But how are they going to do that
How are they going to live without food and clothing, Mr. I mean, you're really taking a very, very moral stand at this. Fuck, you can't eat clothes, Mr. Gilder. And as for something to eat, there's plenty of grass roots and there's plenty of carcasses to be sucked. Well, I think that's really, really harsh, Mr. Cole.
Well, it is a bit, Mr. Paisley, you are being a bit harsh. Well, I think we'll introduce our third guest now. So stay with us, Mr. Paisley, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Certainly, it's been no problem. It has been with him, but everything else has been all right.
Well, our third guest, he's a man who used to be very heavily into politics himself, but has ceased and moved now to London to live. He is also a lord, which might give you a good clue as to who he is.
Oh, I'd say it's Squinty Sweet himself.
Yes, indeed it is Mr. Lord Fitt.
Pardon me.
Well, welcome, Lord Fitt, to be my guest on the taxi.
Well, just call me Johnny. Fuck a load, but I'm glad to be here, Mr. Cole, because it's fuck all that today. I might as well make myself a few bob.
Yes, well, you're right. It'll only be a few bob, mind you. Well, firstly, Mr. Fitt, I'd like to ask you why you moved to London after such a long time in Northern Ireland.
Well, I thought I'd done all I could for Northern Ireland, plus things were getting a wee bit overheated.
That house of yours in Antrim Road was the only thing that was over fucking heated. After your own flock turned it into an all-night bonfire, Mr. Fitt, tell the truth, it was an absolute disgrace.
Mr. Paisley, I'm sure Mr. Fitt can answer his own questions. Now, we want to get off that subject for the moment, Mr. Fitt. What do you do now that you're not into politics? How do you pass your time?
Well, I do odd jobs about the house. I do odd jobs for panthers, like mowing their lawns and cutting their heads.
Cut their fucking throats, more like it.
Please, Mr. Paisley, let him speak. Now, how do you find it living in London as to living in Northern Ireland?
Well, for a start, I can't get a sleep at night, 'cause it's far too quiet. So I hire someone to throw bricks and bottles out our windows and doors. So that way I feel as though I'm at home back in Northern Ireland. So that way I get a decent tip.
That's really intriguing, that. Is there anything else that you find strange living in London?
Yes, there's a lot of niggers in it, a lot of Chinks, Pakistanis, all sorts. There's people in London, every time they hear me talking, they think, oh, he's Irish, he must be an IRA man.
Gee, you were you not?
No, I was not. I must admit my eye let me down. Or I might have joined up, but, I mean, with my bad eyesight, there was times I was holding a rifle back to front, and other times I was looking down a telescopic sight with my bad eye. See, my guess were some of the bullets were flying, so I was booted out.
Well, I would love to know how you got your hands on a personal issue weapon, Mr. Fitt.
Well, I asked for it because my life was in fucking danger.
Your bollocks, who the fuck would want to waste a bullet on you bastard?
Gentlemen, please, Mr. Paisley, don't what are you doing there?
More fucking liquor, that's what I'm doing. Fucking down a thirst. Hold on a minute. No, Jesus, that's great gear, that. That's great. Oh, well, as for Pitt saying his life was in danger, I can't get over it. I would say your life was more in danger living in that dirty museum of yours. The fucking rats had to have stilts to get across your dirty carpet.
Now, gentlemen, please, Mr. Paisley, cut the bickering out here. Now, Mr. Fitt, what has been your most embarrassing moment, do you reckon?
Well, most embarrassing moment. Now, well, this was very true indeed. And my most embarrassing moment was when I was the leader of the FDLP, and we were at a meeting in the City Hall in Belfast, about 8 years ago, it was. We were talking about dogs excreta on our pavements. In other words, dog shite, for those who don't understand, on the pavements. But as the meeting went on, I myself felt like a shite. So I made my way to the toilet, and I got into this wee cubicle, sat on the pat, and did what comes natural. I thought at first, mainly. But that's not the embarrassing part. The next thing, I turned round to get paper to wipe my arse. And fucking Lord and behold, there was no fucking paper.
So what did you wipe your posterior with?
Well, there was hand dryers on the wall. So you can imagine the shape I was in order to get my fucking house dry. Fuck, when I got home, I got a hammer and bolster to my dingleberries. And you should have seen the fucking shape of me then. I had to look in a mirror, bar and all.
What are you talking about now?
Well, by the time I was finished with the hammer and bolster, both eyes were fucked.
I'm sure your fucking arse was in a queer state, Mr. Fitt.
I couldn't shit for a week after that. And mind you, when I did eventually shit, I thought it was laced with fucking lumps of glass and you cut the fucking arse right off. I mean, I'll never ever forget that.
Yes, I'm sure you wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't forget an incident like that in a hurry either. What about you, Mr. Paisley? Have you ever had any embarrassing moments?
Yes, I have. I've had quite a few embarrassing moments, but I don't think this was fit for the air, Mr. Cole, really.
Well, what about the song of yours? Do you want to sing a few bars of this new number you've got? I'm going to sing we're going to get Mr. Paisley to sing a few lines of his new single. I don't know whether you've got a name for the single or not.
Yes, well, the name of the single is Fuck Thatcher and Keane. That's the title.
Well, now, Mr. Paisley's going to give us a few bars of this. Right, Mr. Paisley, 1, 2, 3, go.
Puff the magic dragon that lives by the sea. Puff the magic dragon, her name is Maggie. She lives in Dining Street in at number 10. And that is not her house, but that is her den. So puff, traitor Thatcher, 'cause that's all you are. You make decisions with Tom Keane because you are in power. But we'll send this message to Mr. Keane and you to say that Ulster will remain red, white and blue. Oh, puff, Mrs. Thatcher, 'cause you're out of steam. The decisions you're making is making Ulster scream. So we are telling you now to wise up a bop, or else you and Mr. Keane is going to get the chap. So puff the magic dragon that lives by the sea. Puff the magic dragon, her name is Maggie.
Hi, Mr. Paisley, that was marvellous there. Lovely number. I think that should rocket into number 1, that.
Well, I actually wasted about 6 weeks to write that. And that's how I feel about Thatcher and Mr. Keane. They are traitors and everything. Beg your pardon, and everything else. Apart from that, they're bastards.
Now, Mr. Paisley, have you had any embarrassing moments? You say you have.
Yes, well, something quite similar actually happened to me the last time I was interviewed by you yourself, Mr. Cole, on the Spittin Politics programme. I was, I must admit, doing a lot of farting until I eventually asked where the toilets were. And incidentally, no one there was aware at the time, but I'd shit myself. And it was everywhere. All down my legs, all over my trousers. It was fucking stinking. But anyway, after an unusual walk to my car that night, I decided to give the trousers that I'd shit into Oxfam. But I heard through the grapevine, Mr. Cole, and this was very true, that Jerry Adams bought my trousers, shite no, and give them to a Republican hunger striker in jail to make him feel at home.
Well, I don't know whether I'd believe that or not. I'm sure you were humming, Mr. Paisley.
Humming? I was fucking singing, for fuck's sake.
Well, now, let's get off this shitty subject. Jesus Christ.
Oh, it's fuck. I'm sorry about that. Honest to God. If Mr. Paisley, I'll fucking biff you.
Get that spray out. He's fucking stinking. You're fucking stinking, Jerry. Sit away over there.
All right, I'm moving now. Moving. Fuck's sake. Not even allowed to fucking sit there.
You dirty wee bastard, you. That's typical Republicanism.
Now, Mr. Paisley, we'll have to get Mr. Fitt back. Come on back, Jerry.
Cunt bastard.
Sit down there. You're humming, actually. Now, let's get off this shitty subject for the moment, Mr. Paisley, now. How do you enjoy a good night out?
Well, I like to go to Chinese and have a beef curry and a drink.
Fuck every bit of one. You shit yourself.
Now, Mr. Fitt, I told you about interrupting me. Now, will you shut your fucking face?
Hey, Lord, I've had it. Hey, Lord. Bit of guinea, let it be that bit of gold.
Now, gentlemen, please contain yourself. Mr. Paisley, get off him.
Punch that tumbler up over his fucking head. Well, that night, to be true, was a night I did shite myself as well. But before I was interrupted, that's a starter to my night out. I have often went to dances.
Do you bring the wife Eileen with you?
Oh, I do not bring her because she can't dance, for a start. And she doesn't dig into her purse, either. She's very costly.
Mr. Fitt, what about you? I want your view on the media, papers in particular. There's nothing wrong with the papers you say, but has there been any incidents at all that they have given you a bad write-up?
No, there's nothing wrong with the papers. They've always given me a very good write-up. They've been very, very kind to me indeed.
Any paper that's ever give you a fucking write-up, Mr. Fitt, must have been the Sallians, the War Cry, or the fucking Beano, for fuck's sake.
There's nothing wrong with those papers, Mr. Paisley.
It's all right, I suppose, if you're stuck in a white or arse.
Now, what do you think of the papers, Mr. Paisley?
Well, I must stress that papers do go on overboard sometimes. With their fairy stories, they have to lie to get their papers sold.
Any particular paper?
Oh, just that snatter went down like the Titanic. Yes, well, I would say the News of the World is the most disgraceful paper ever I came across. They're a shower of bastards because of the terrible set-out for horse racing results. And they never give my team, QPR, Queen's Park Rangers, a decent write-up.
Any particular reason why you support QPR?
Yes, the Q's for the Queen, the P's for Paisley, and the R's for resistance. Resistance to the Anglo-Irish Agreement.
Mr. Fitt, who do you support?
Well, I support Cliftonville. They're a marvellous team. Do you ever see them playing? They're marvellous.
Fuck's sake, they took those calibers off and got out of those wheelchairs that might be better.
Well, now, gentlemen, listeners, and everybody else, Mr. Geldof, who's nearly fell asleep there, I'd like to thank everyone for making this program possible. I'd like to thank everyone for coming on, Mr. Paisley, Jerry Fitt, and Bob Geldof. So the program's at an end now, and we'd like to thank everyone for tuning in, and I hope to be on here maybe sometime next year, or maybe next month. So all the best, and thank you very much.